In this review we're looking at a new mobile crane model from IMC Models. It's a Demag AC250-5, and look in the video description for a special offer if you want to buy this model. Inside the box there's the usual pair of expanded polystyrene trays and there's a manual we'll look at shortly. But firstly we'll get the knife out and cut the factory seal, and lifting the lid shows the model parts wrapped in soft paper. So it's all nicely packaged. Let's now take a look at the manual, and it starts with a good parts list, although there are some parts not listed and we'll cover those later. And then there are very clear step-by-step instructions for the various features of the model. It goes through the various transport mode options, and then goes on to cover the setting up and operation of the crane. The only things missing are a reeving diagram for the hook, but the model does come ready reeved. And there's no information about the real crane. Let's start by looking at the counterweight, which is nicely made and comes in all of the various separate parts, so it's accurate to the real machine. For the transport mode we're going to carry a piece of the counterweight on the carrier deck. So we'll raise the boom a little and then position it. The other part we'll carry with us is the fly jib, and this crane is very detailed when it comes to the attachment system for the jib. It includes a fold-out support and also a hydraulic gripper. To fit the jib we need to offer it up to the side of the boom, and it can be a little bit fiddly to get that gripper at the front in the right position. Here you see it close up as it holds on to the jib. So that's the crane ready for the road, so how about something to go along with it? Well, we've got some counterweight and spreader plates to carry, so we'll use a Notabone Multi-PX trailer to carry the loads. Looking underneath there's a detailed transmission and small tanks. And a nice touch is the soft mud flaps behind the front and rear axles. The front looks great with a detailed driving cab, and the big spool on the boom gives it a busy look. The detail behind the cab is excellent with fine quality metalwork, and a particular plus point is the numerous high quality and tiny graphics. These are spread all around the model and they give it a very realistic look. Even the metal main boom ram jacket has a tiny graphic applied. The boom sections have a thin wall profile so they look very realistic, and there are metal sheaves in the boom head, even though the ones on the real crane are not metal. The fly jib is metal and it's a very nice looking part. There are two small parts provided which are not listed in the manual, and one of them is a pin for the rear towing point. The position for the other part is not so obvious, but it goes in the hole that you would normally use for the key that operates the winch. Remember, if you want to support the Cranes Etc. team, you can do so over on our Patreon page and the link is in the video description. As usual we start with a look underneath, and the axles have nice independently sprung suspension. For the steering the rear two axles are linked together, although on the real crane they can steer separately. At the front there's quite a complex linked steering arrangement, with all three axles steered. But it is proportional and you can get a good angle on the front axle. So let's try it now, right side up, and it rolls well enough. And we'll set the steering to see how it gets on. If you wanted you could also set a form of crab steering with all the wheels pointing the same way. But as we see here, set conventionally, the steering works well. Enough driving about, we've arrived on site, so let's set up. And a very nice touch are these access ladders which can be rotated and folded down, and there's two on each side. We also need to be able to help the operator to get into his cab, and to do that there's a little pull-out access platform underneath the cab, and in this case the operator is issued with a giant pair of tweezers in order to get the access platform out. So it takes a little bit of effort to get it out and posed properly, but once you've done that, it looks good. The next operation is to go for something strong and stable, so we need to pull out the outriggers to give the crane a firm base. The pads have got a nice offsetting mechanism for transport, and to lower them you unscrew them in the normal way. Perhaps the only surprise is that the pistons have a visible screw thread rather than a smooth face, but a nice touch is that you can insert a pin into the pads to lock them into a central position. Included with the model are a set of 4 heavy spreader plates. With the Outriggers down, it is strong and stable, and the crane can be supported wheels free, and as we can see here, the Outriggers are nice and straight. So now we're ready to raise the boom, and to do that it's a finger job. It lifts up smoothly and the metal ram can be locked in any position, and to do that you use a key to tighten up some small screws. We can now continue to load up the rest of the counterweight, and any of the configurations of the real crane can be reproduced. And if you want to go to the maximum, there are a couple of cheek weights that hook in on the outsides. In real life, the crane should be able to rotate round and pick up its counterweight, but you can't do that on the model because of the fixing mechanism that's been chosen, and that consists of inserting 2 steel pins to lock the counterweight in place. But as you would expect, there's no problem with the scaling of the model because it rotates nicely over the carrier deck. The telescopic boom works in the normal way. You pull out the sections, and there are locking positions at the 50% mark and at full extension for each of the sections. One thing you can notice again here is that the wall thicknesses of the telescopic sections are realistically thin. The telescopic sections are locked by small locking clips, and here we see to lower an extension from 100% to 50%, you push in the clip, push in the section, and then the clip locks again at the 50% mark. To operate the crane, you insert a key into the winch, and it's spring controlled with a positive brake. It works well enough without being a precision mechanism. The crane does feature a tilting cab, and that's very nice because it holds any pose easily. The main boom reaches an impressive height, but if you want more we have to attach the fly jib, and that's a little unusual in terms of the way it's done on this crane. 2 connections at the bottom are made and then secured by small steel pins, and that's a fairly normal system for attaching the fly jib. At the top though, things are different because you need to attach 2 hydraulic rams, and you make those connections by using 2 tiny black nuts and bolts. To do that, 2 special tools are supplied, so that makes the job relatively easy. The only thing to avoid with parts that are this small is over-tightening the bolt. There was one issue on the review model, which is that one of the rams had its grub screw on the inside face rather than the outside face, and that's an installation issue in the factory. But it's easily fixed. All you need to do is to undo the bottom nut and bolt and rotate the cylinder so that the grub screw's on the outside. Then we can get on and run the rope to the end of the jib, but we are left with a cut-off chain hanging and that doesn't really look right. But if you gently open the top link, you can remove it from where it's hooked on. Here we're on a half-length fly jib, and although there's not a proper fixing point for the chain, you can just hang it over and it looks okay. One nice aspect of the hydraulic rams is that by using them you can set the fly jib to a tilted angle, and that gives you some very nice flexibility in displaying the model. There is only one hook supplied with the crane, and that's a free sheave version, and it would have been nice if there'd been a single line hook for the fly jib. So that was a half-length fly jib, but we can open up the folding section and get to a full length. And once you've got it into the straight position, you lock it with a long steel pin. So the longer fly jib gives you even more flexibility, and of course, as we've already seen, if you wanted to, you could have it angled as well. But how big is big, so let's get the tape measure out. And to the top of the main boom it's about 53 inches or 135 centimetres. And with a full fly jib the maximum height is about 68 inches or 174 centimetres. This is a very high quality crane by IMC models. It is well made and a particular high point is the level of detailing, but that's also matched by a very good level of functionality. So if you want a high quality 5-axle crane, this one is excellent.